you're only missing two numbers.
Right.
I gotta take time to call this.
Hold on, we're not there yet.
Well, you said, right?
No, that's when I said right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now you can go. We're live.
Okay, let's call the March 11th, 2021 planning board meeting. Ms. Sonia, how are we gonna do roll call, please? How we got one minute on Zoom somewhere?
You know, staff is taking care of that, so we can move past that one.
All right, awesome. I would say no public comments. We haven't.
We didn't have any.
Public comment, board commission response. All right, just move on.
Mhm.
That brings new business. Board commission requested, industrial ag in the county, and soon that's what we're gonna be taking to tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Let me pull that up real quick. Okay. There is the map. Let me pull some of the stuff to the side.
You don't take away that?
That's YouTube delay. Yeah. So y'all have, the ones at home have this digital, and then the ones here have paper in front of them, and y'all got the larger prints behind you. And so I also have it pulled up on the screen for anybody that's on YouTube can see the map that we're talking about. So go ahead, Ray, we're good.
All right. Tommy, tell me a little bit about this map we got here.
Okay, so commissioners voted a few weeks ago to have planning board put together a map that shows industrial use and agricultural use in the county, all in one map. So staff pulled together just some resources we have. The orange gold color is the agricultural use for the county. We pulled that from present use value and kind of compared that with the conservation people to make sure we have everybody covered. The rest of the map, you'll see red. Red is industrial, but through the Chamber of Commerce, or the Chamber has actually given us their sites of what they advertise where an industry can come in. And then the blue color is the HIDO parcels that we already have on file through the heavy industrial development ordinance. So we left those on the map showing just as that. And then, of course, just solid red is industrial land by tax record. So we tried to pull the resources we could together to help you all figure out where everything was. And at this point, we're kind of looking to the board to figure out exactly what else we may need to add to get a complete map to the commissioners. Mm-hmm. No. Let me see if I can turn it down. Okay, is that better? No, all I have to do is find the screen I was on. All right.
Well, Tony, it looks like on this map right here, you've got 4085 corridor going back through all the county. All the municipalities pretty much follow suit with the highway there. So I mean, obviously they have their zoning in place. Once you get outside their incorporated, limits as well as DJs, I mean, it seems like to me that everything's kind of sort of goes together along the beach. You obviously do have some, residential properties out there. But I mean, for me, it looks like the majority of it's agriculture. You might get any comments on that?
Well, I've got several.
Go right ahead, sir.
I've done some research about this request about things, and I've heard a lot of comments coming from communities about this potential, what will happen with agricultural land, et cetera, under a zoning plan, under any kind of use plan. And so I've reached out to some of my, resources over, Farm Bureau. Jack Parker is the general counsel over there. And, he enlightened me, on a lot of things about agricultural land in particular. Uh, First of all, agricultural land cannot be zoned. We need to be clear about that, period. And then, General Statute 153-340 gives you the ag exemption. That's state law. 153-340, and then there's an A and B, one was repealed and another one was passed. Then you go into 160D-903, which defines agricultural use. So, under present use value, which this map represents, that is one of the pieces of evidence that could be sufficient to qualify, but it's not the only thing. You don't have to be under PUB to qualify under an ag exemption. You can have a farm sales tax exemption certificate. So if you have a registered, a farm tax number and you're farming, then that's one thing. In other words, 106-737 bona fide farm, for the purposes of determining whether a property is being used for bona fide farm purposes, any of the following is sufficient evidence that the property is being used for bona fide farm purposes. Farm sales tax exemption certificate issued by the Department of Revenue. A copy of the property tax listing showing the property is eligible for participation in the present use program. A copy of the farm owners or operator Schedule F. If the person is filing a Schedule F tax return, or if they have a forest management plan. If any of those four things are qualifiers, are indicators that they have, farm land or would qualify as farm land. However, there's another section to that you need to be aware of. You can have those things, but you have to be, conducting farming activities. You have to be planting, harvesting, have livestock operations. There has to be an active farm going. And, it gets a lot deeper, but there has been, there's another agriculture defined, which is under statute 106-581.1. That has about 7 different, criteria. Well, one's cultivation of soil for harvesting the crops, planting and production of trees, timber, dairying, raising, care, training of livestock, including pork, beef, poultry, other animals, public use, aquaculture, as defined, and there's another statute that defines that. Conservation, improvement, maintenance of the farm, and the structures on the, and buildings on the farm, including repair, replacement, expansion, construction, incident to the farm operation. That brings us to another question, but I'll get back to that in a second. So there's a question about how would zoning affect agricultural buildings? You know, what would happen? Well, clearly under the statute, replacement, repair, structure, expansion, and construction, incident to the farm operation is covered under such exemption. It also includes marketing and selling of all the ag products, agritourism, storage and use of materials for agricultural purposes, packing, trees, processing, storage. It goes on and on and on and on and on. Private and public grain warehouse or warehouse operation where grain is held for 10 days or longer. Elevated equipment, building warehouses. All those things are in defined agriculture stuff. We've got part of this covered, but I don't know that we have all of it just by present only. Because you can farm and you don't have to be registered under present use value. Present use value is just a tool that allows the landowner to pay present use value under that use. If he's farming and filing a Schedule F, but he's paying full market value on the tax, so there could be parcels in here that are being farmed that are not registered as a parcel. They may be hard to find, but again, they would qualify. So the question has been, what's gonna happen if we were to, you know, let's leave way and say we have county right now. These agricultural lands are gonna be protected. They're gonna be grandfathered in. If not, we changed and it can't be, you know, we as a county do not go in and tell those people they can't farm anymore because farming exemption is there as long as they meet all these, or I should say all of them, it says any. So there's the thing about ag land and, you know, going forward, we, got there's lots of general statute that covers definitions and the activities involving farming, agricultural land, rural land, and even it goes so far as to say, there's a statute, a piece of the statute that talks about, building residential uses and, large lots in agricultural districts. You can build it says, county zoning regulation shall not prohibit single-family detached residential uses constructed in accordance with North Carolina State Building Code on lots greater than 10 acres in size and in zoning districts where more than 50% of the land is used for agriculture or silviculture purposes. So you can cut out 10-acre lots on your farm. I get a lot of this. What if I want to build a home for my daughter or my son on my farm? Well, I think that under this statute, that's covered. That would be allowed for people to do that. So there's been a lot of concern about, I don't want anyone telling me what to do. Well, as far as agricultural land, there's mindful, understanding the breed and all the things that I tried to gather on it. They would not have they shouldn't have any concern at all going forward with this. There are some things about, if you want a home on the farm and you say you want to take a lot off that farm, I think it's going to fall back under the name of what we would allow. This could be a part of regulation or an ordinance that would allow you to remove that piece of the farm out of the PUD, pay the back tax, pay the interest for 3 years back tax, and remove it. I'll give you an example. Where I live, part of my lot was under PUD in the cow pasture. And when we took the house, we had to take part of the land and survey it out for a septic repair. So what happened was they did that. That came out of the PUD. The rest of the land all around it is still in the cow pasture and all the fields and all the cropland. But that lot where I live now is not PUD anymore.
And we're talking about the same situation with our law right here.
We pay the back tax for 3 years penalty and interest, and I'm in the Edgar H. Pritchett subdivision, the one house in that subdivision.
I got a question. You had to take it out, and we're gonna say first one had to have a septic on that. You got to pay kind of, backed up taxes.
That's the part of the law about PUD. Anytime you remove a parcel from present use value, because present use value gives them less than market price on the tax, on the property tax. And so because you're getting that all those years, the penalty for removal out of PUD is 3 years back taxes. Pay the penalty. And that's just state law. That's what
I wondered about that because you raised cows last year and the issue you decide you need to put the house, why are you having to be penalized? I mean, obviously, it's what I can do. You might have to put the septic system in, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not wise to raise cow over top of it. Well, now, I just wonder about that. I mean, you already losing part of your, we're gonna say, area of production. Why would you try to lose that?
Well, I think it's just because you saved the money for all those years, and that's just the way the county recoups part of their discount, I guess you could say. But
And
it's,
that's based on state law, not county.
yeah, that's a state, that's a
Well,
state.
I understand, and even still, I mean, it comes right back down, this is what I have. And I'm good, anybody can witness fine. But if you have that pasture land, you raise, let's say you raise cows on it for 40 years. All right, you said just makes your house no good anymore, you got to put one in over here, you still lose part of your pasture land. Already, you ain't selling it, ain't nobody sees it, well, you just can't use it, you can't get horse and stuff. You gotta turn around and go back. You've already raising cows 3 years prior to it. You gotta go back. I understand what you're saying, and it may seem fair in a way, but it's kind of sort of like you got too much money in your checkbook, you just have to. Well, that's my whole thing. I mean, you know, it's,
Well,
I understand
for the
taking
state,
out opinion. I understand taking out opinion. I understand that. But the whole penalty thing, either way, I mean, if it's been going on for years, but, you know, you spit and jump right down, I mean, you're talking about, but they like it. I mean, it's just what they current use for the thing. Current property they use for ag purposes, now all of a sudden not, so you go back 4 years and, pay the difference.
right, well, one of the things that, it's just for the sake of argument,
So this is an incentive to kind of sort of
Well,
make more need for it to be.
well, it's a tool that farmers are gonna use that helps them be profitable.
Right.
In their agricultural enterprises, I mean, period. The county or the state, not the county, but the state law requires that that's the penalty that was just put in place when the law was passed.
I got
So that's the thing. But for today, I mean, my whole point of bringing this up was just, there were concerns about people, you know, I think they're getting this feeling that if these plans go forward, they're gonna lose control of their property, especially agricultural land, and that's not the case at all. State law prohibits that, and there's David Owen, who is a wonderful man, and recommends David Owen. He's written extensively on zoning, county zoning, land use plans and such and so forth. And there's, I went back and researched some of this things. There's loads and loads of case law that where all these different agricultural enterprises were, you know, one thing or another were proven out in court of law that said they were allowed to exist and do as they were. There's also some language in there about if your operation is existing, then there are certain things about suit can't be brought against you for nuisance or things like that. In other words, you know, scenario where you have subdivision built behind a farm that's been there, you know, 150 years, and there's, for lack of a better way to say it, they're spreading manure on spring day, and they're right up against the back lots of those subdivisions. Well, that's an agricultural use, and that's a normal agricultural operation, and they get mad and want to bring suit against the farmer and try to put them out of business. Well, based on what I've read, that's not allowed either.
They can file a lawsuit, but it won't get them.
That's, yeah, I mean, they go through the motions, but so there's a lot of protection in here for agricultural land based on everything that I've found out about that. You know, the other thing is, I went and found this map. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty dramatic. Look at it in color. We're the white dot right in the middle. The blue is counties with zoning. The red is counties with partial zoning. The white counties have zero protection of anything. You know, that's an eye-opener if you're not aware of such how that is. Well, I think that was the main thing I wanted to say about this map, and we may have a lot of, you know, there's probably 90% of the work done here about identifying ag land, but there may be some more out there will fall in the cracks under some of these other, criteria.
Ms. Todd, can I ask you, a question?
Sure.
Who's paying the map?
Our GIS department put the map together. She and I kind of coordinate on what to put on the map.
I got you. All right, the reason I'm asking, there's several parcels here that I very well know for, and that's in fact, or in a right now. It may not be as far as tax parcel is concerned. But I want you guys to show you quite a few fields and what's going to be soybean and corn fields that are covered white right now. So I wonder, you know, where this is concerned, I mean, it's an awesome job. I mean, that looks great. As a matter of fact, I may take it home and play it all right. All right. But I just wonder, is it possible that we could get our local, the ag extension,
Yeah, we could.
you know, would it not benefit us to have that? Because I mean, you know, once you look over this map, you can actually find out where your house is at, where your home place is at. You kind of sort of, you know, feel through it and you can remember a cornfield, a pasture, something along those lines. And just because it's not in the county tax data that it is, you know, present reviewed ag, doesn't mean it's not ag. Maybe the property owner just doesn't know to apply for it and get that.
Right. Anything that's being farmed either through, ownership, that they own the farmland, or the land that they're leasing farm, and the owner of that land would more than likely have that land listed under present use value too. So the other place we could also reach out to is voluntary ag district,
Right.
because they would have a substantial map of what's in the voluntary ag districts.
I wonder exactly how many farmers, I actually wonder about this. I wonder exactly how many farmers signed up to be part of the voluntary ag district. There's a couple out my way and they know the farmers. I mean, them guys are very serious about what they do. You know them. But I don't know that they don't take time to come down and just fill out a piece of paper to say I'm in a voluntary ag district. You know, I mean, they stay busy all the time.
Right.
So, you know, the voluntary ag district, I remember when it was first set up several years ago, I remember the whole discussion about it. I think there was a cattleman down on the south side of the county got this, he didn't get in trouble, but he had a adjacent property owner that got upset because he cut timber off his farm. I mean, he literally sold timber off his farm and he got sued for cutting his own timber. And I remember that. And I also remember right over there, not far from Edgar's place, there was a guy on his tractor going to spray a field. A guy come through in a little, you know, hot shot car with a bumblebee muffler on it, run up in the tractor, put that guy in the hospital. And he got upset because the man was driving from one farm to the other and had his tractor in a wreck. So that's about where this voluntary ag district come from. I remember that clearly. But
The ag district was designed to protect the people moving in, or to protect the farmer from the folks that are moving in. Is, you know, whenever there's a real estate transaction, if they purchase a tract of land that, or a house or whatever that's adjacent to a voluntary ag district, it's supposed to paperwork in the home.
Basically, the realtor is supposed to.
The realtor is
responsible to inform them they're moving into a voluntary ag.
and there's going to be
And there are going to be sounds and smells and
and tractors on the
activities.
road, and you might hear combine. You know, that's what it was put there for. I remember that.
I don't think it's, I don't think we'll backwards here, but I'm a little bit behind, so they're gonna get caught up. That's the reason why we're looking at this map to begin with. The commissioner sent this down to us to put together this map. What's the reason for doing it?
Primary reason, I got this is probably the biggest mess I've ever seen in this application. I've been a little bit funny, but in that, we got, I'm sure I got 200 emails, telephone calls, business for home calls. The state county people not only they want us to have not just the moratorium, but they don't want to smell anything, they don't want to see anything, they want to control the whole tree. I got a number of calls from people I know very well in this state really can't think of it. They're own big county. And but they did not make a single presentation in our meeting, last meeting when we talked about the moratorium. We had 28 emails and calls during that meeting, I think the entire morning. And they were all split camp people who, they want Zoom, they want whatever. All the folks that I know, I grew up on the microphone, in the Plainfield. So I know about all of it. I know about spreading manure and all that sort of thing. Just back when I was a kid, but that's what we did. So for but not a single one of them showed up for that.
Have it during the day and everybody's at work.
Well, that's probably.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have a whole.
But I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very dangerous. But we found out that night, coming at 5:15. All day long. I'm not trying to simple. But my opinion is I'm not a big zoning person anyway. And I feel like you need to be very careful. I think what the farmers don't understand is one, if you point out, this does not apply agricultural land. But if they're gonna get hit, if they get hit, when they decide they want to continue farming or they die and they're sure they don't want to continue farming, and now they want to sell it for, in this case, the higher is really what we're talking about. They want to sell it for a lot for or a whatever else. And get higher dollars maybe as farmland or anything else. Those are the guys that get hit. Because they can't do that. My dad's property is a really good example. Look in the place for Highway 70, you know, that you, your house, warehouse for the grocery store. Right there with the entrance is my dad's, and we're out in the house I grew up. And so they went in and they exploited it. I got a lot more of that acreage than otherwise. There's probably that land and whatever, if we sold it as a house. Last year, we had this place. Instead, we got this place because it's quick for that. Your dad passed away at age 90. He also was not very committed. I'm not going to go back and farm. And so, my little brother passed away a few years ago. And my little brother has already probably just got a lot more money. That's the problem with farmers right now. They decide not to continue. They can't sell it for the highest price. They will sell it for whatever restrictions we have. They really have a hard time start zoning this area. That's what a lot of restrictions. They really don't do. I'm going to split on this. I mean, I understand the issue from the people that moved in and want to have their house and a 2-acre lot, they control the 100-acre farm. But I also understand the owner of the 100-acre farm that wants to be able to both sides of that. I think this planning board right here, you guys have a major league thing to help county commissioners. And I grew up on a farm. I don't know the other commissioners. So Pam Thompson said she built on Smith County. And I thought it was I think the only county commission that before and some of the issues. But this board has a very good job of other county commissioners with the two sides of this issue. And they're going to do
Well, the dilemma that I'm seeing at hand, Vaughn, you're gonna have to help me with this. And I witnessed this with my own 2 eyes. January of last year, about 150 acre farm being sold at public auction. I was there at public auction. Okay, I was there. I was in attendance. I watched it sell. At the same time, there was probably, now I'm talking, and the barnyard was full of farmers. But I'm talking about farmers that would have been interested in buying that land for agricultural purposes. There might have been, I'm gonna say 8 to 10 in the crowd. Okay, they never got a chance. What that land brought you've got two different economies.
Because they kicked up the price so high.
It went up so high, they couldn't afford it.
Right.
You know, this is the thing, that, you know, everybody, especially when you talk about finances, you're gonna have, okay, well, the retail establishment's got this economy. You need, no, realistically, this is what you have. You have the ag economy and the other economy, and that's where it ends. Because, you know, I farm myself. I love it. I absolutely love it. But you can't make enough money with corn, soybeans, wheat, or tobacco to pay the price that this land is bringing now. You can't. I mean, once upon a time, I had the opportunity to buy a huge tract land, and it was beautiful. And when I finished up figuring out what I was going to do, and I was already approved some money, all I had to do was say, I need a check, and I'd have got it. But when I finally figured out what it was going to take for me to one day hold the deed in my hand and say it's paid for, my grandchildren would make the last payment. So with that being said, I walked away from it because I was going to make a decision, and my grandchildren were not even thought of at the time. So I couldn't do it. So when I watched that farm sale last year, I stood there and I watched it. Matter of fact, that was the second farm in that community that I had seen sold in, I'm gonna say 7 or 8 years.
Is it where you live now?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. And I was there, beautiful farm, productive land. You can walk out there and throw your hat down on the ground, raise what you want. It was purebred professional farm. It's growing houses. So
Land developer buy.
a land developer did buy it.
Well,
And he paid, and the thing is he paid the price. And I'm not criticizing any of our farmers, but because they're honestly hardworking men and women, they are. But there's two economies, ag economy, other economy, because, you know, the profit, they can't afford to pay $3,500, $4,500 an acre for land to raise corn and soybeans. They can't. And I'm not that big on cows. Eric, I think you are riding around a lot of cows in your part of the country. But I can't see paying $4,000 an acre for pasture land. I'm sorry. Yes, sir, it is tough because you better love feeding cows. You better love mending fences because you're going to do it a long time before you get to go over to the store and get a Pepsi off what you make. I mean,
It'd be worse if you did it for
Well,
those guys get beat up pretty bad.
While the guy's talking about this map and clearly, there are, I believe this map talks about 67 counties of the 100 counties have zoning. And then there's 13 that have partial and then 20 with nothing. We're one of those 20 with nothing. Agriculture and agribusiness in North Carolina is the single largest industry we have in North Carolina. It's almost $95 billion a year to the state economy. So clearly we have lots of agriculture going on in these counties that are zoned. So agriculture and zoning running up into each other is not a problem. But what is a problem is if we don't do something in this county about our land use plan, if we don't figure out a way to decide what we want to do with the parcels in this county. I know, Mr. Paisley, you say you're not for zoning.
I didn't say.
Well, what I mean is.
I didn't say it was not the zoning, but I'm really concerned about.
Well, I'm concerned about the fact that we've got no protection anywhere in this county for our farmers, for our agricultural land, for our citizens who have identified in their land use, you know, the land use plan, the last one that was done, agriculture was one of the 5 pillars, preserve and protect. So as a planning board member, I think that it's our marching orders to see that that's done. This is our opportunity to do something for the citizens. That's what the citizens have asked for. And if we're not going to honor that, then we should all pack up our stuff and go home. That's just the way I see it. We've got a situation just like what you described with anytime farmland's going to come up,
it's gonna go to the highest bidder. I mean, there's a million reasons you can't stop development. And that farm, when that man gets the check written to him with all those zeros on it, it doesn't really matter anymore about how much the price of cows are or the price of corn or soybeans or anything else. The price of that land just helped. That's life-changing money. You got to understand that. You know, his children, and a lot of times it's like what you described, the children, the heirs, they don't want to farm. The first thing they want to do is sell that property. So what as a group, as a planning board, how, as a county, how do we want to see that happen? We can't stop it, but we can have some say in what goes where and what doesn't go where. In other words, how do we want to see this county grow? It's going to grow. Let me tell you, South Carolina has about 4 or 5 million people in it. By the year 2030, the prediction is that many people will be in this state moving in. The paper yesterday or today talked about North Carolina is the target of retirees moving from wherever to here. People, hey, I like Alamance County too. I like living here. And a lot of other people want to live here. But where do we want them to live? And where do we want them to work? Where do we want them to go to school? Where do those things need to be located? We need to make some decisions that affect the rest of this county for my children or your children or your grandchildren. And I think if we don't start looking at it with some serious vision, every developer that's worth his salt's got a red pen and got a circle right around that white dot right there. And because they can go out anywhere right now and put just about whatever they want, short of a HIDO permitted parcel.
But now I'm also gonna tell you something else too. Now, this has been 15 years ago. I was with a developer. We've been truck riding, and he told me, he said, just think about Alamance County. You got 2 major highways running right through the heart of the county. Depending on how you drive, you'll be to the beach in a couple hours. Depending on how you drive, you'll be to the mountains in a couple hours. Our climate here is not bad. Yeah, we might get a little snow once in a while. We might get a little bit of ice, and in August, we might have a few days we're gonna stand there with lemonade and air conditioning. But if you take the year out as a whole, Alamance County is dead center of the state. 2 highways, you got the coast, you got the mountains, you got Greensboro to the west, major airport, you got Raleigh to the southeast, major airport, both towns are major. I mean, I agree with you.
Chairman Ray,
They'll come, they'll buy that farm just like they did last year. You know, what used to raise cows is gonna soon be raising patio houses. Okay, and it's there. So for me, my biggest concern is, you know, there was issues, I know it was discussed about zoning in one part of the county. Okay. Honestly, I feel like it was a knee-jerk reaction because I do know that the county does have a wealth of ordinances. You know, we do have a wealth of ordinances. I remember somebody told me one time that Alamance County was ordinance in itself and death. I remember that.
You said we have what, 60-some orders?
About 60 ordinances total, probably development wise, maybe 25 that actually are written for development.
excuse me, this is Andrea Cheek. Mr. Chair, may I speak?
Year before last, we took Idaho apart and we made compromises and we worked hard, the 3 of us. I'm gonna have to say most of them too. The next thing I can do is start picking up some to finish. But
Just what y'all talk.
you was a good moderator, sir. You did an awesome job.
Like I said, what y'all talk.
You did an awesome job. So I'm not opposed to zoning, and I'm not gonna stand over here and say let's zone the entire county right down to the spring down there past the airport, you know. But I agree with what Mr. Willoughby saying, something's got to happen. It's got to happen.
I do some real estate work, and I can tell you that there are no houses for sale in the county right now, period. None. And if a house goes in the market, it sells in a day with multiple offers. People want to come in, people want to buy, but there's just nothing out there inventory for them to buy. So what happens next? Next is the developments that come in to facilitate those needs. And so Mr. Willoughby's point, it's definitely something that's here, and it's going to be a big part of what we experience in the next few years.
One of the concerns I have about what we do, it was sort of interesting to me that this board has no say, no sight. We never see a subdivision until we ride by it and see it under construction. I mean, this board, as planning, if you look at the definition of planning, what the heck are we planning if we're not seeing any of that before it happens?
A lot of it's inside cities until we get under control.
Now, I understand that, but not all of them. I mean,
So we have your chief is wanting to speak to you. Go ahead, Andrea.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Andrea Cheek, and I would like to say that I support Mr. Willoughby's perspective wholeheartedly. I'm a native Arkansan, and there's a lot of farmland there, and it is imminent that we protect it. I'm an educator, and I'm all about high culture and looking about and learning and progressivism and all this stuff. But if we don't take care of our land, if we don't take care of our farms, our farmers, and make it feasible for them to live, then we can kiss it goodbye. I support Willoughby 100%, and I think that it's our position to protect the farmers and their lands, because just as they were saying, their children, their grandchildren will sell it first chance they get. So we need to make it to where it's lucrative for the farmer, affordable. That's just my 2 cents, and I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Cheek. I appreciate you. You're right. Do all right.
But the question is, how do you do that?
That's right. There's where the rub comes in. What do we do? I mean,
What you said earlier, even if the county decides to do countywide, ag land cannot be zoned. That's what I'm understanding.
As long as it stays as agriculture.
Okay, now, when it decides to come out of agriculture, when, Aunt Bessie over here decides to sell 90 acres, it's gonna be developed, it's not gonna be cornfields and pastures no more. At that point in time, that farm will be zoned accordingly. Is that what I'm understanding?
well, I would guess that whatever the ordinance would be, now you know the legal. I'm going to say this, I assume that there would be a process or a procedure where a parcel could be removed from that use. In other words, within the municipalities, there's zoning changes all the time. You see them month after month after month. They request R15 to light industrial, or from light industrial to R15, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse is operating on a special use permit in the city of Burlington. I mean, and look where it's at and what's all around it. It was not zoned for what it is. They requested a special use permit and got it and built the Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. Now, so to me, there would be an avenue for a landowner
If you have zoning.
if you had zoning or even an agricultural overlay or some kind of thing that would protect you from whatever. There would be a process or a procedure where people could ask for a variance or ask for a zoning change or ask for a thing. And of course, then it's the same as what I described before. You're removing it from present use value. The developer or whomever is going to pay, or the owner, the new owner, is going to pay the back taxes and the penalty and interest. And then there it goes. But I'm sure under those things, there would be public hearings, and there would be there was just the same process as what the HIDO describes now. That, there's application, there's process, there's.
So the other ones to speak to kind of help clarify that too.
Okay.
Go ahead, Andrea.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to clarify what Ray was talking about, agricultural uses are exempt. from county zoning. Agricultural land is not. So the land would be within a district, but to the extent that the farmer is using that land for agriculture, the county can't come in and say anything about it. You wouldn't necessarily take it in or out of agriculture based on the use. If they wanted to change the use at that point, that's when they'd have to apply for a permit or however conditional rezoning or whatever we decide to do.
Ian, can I ask you a question?
You can, but there's no guarantee I'm going to hear you.
You guys have
Well, I guess the thing that I'm asking is, they would still, under agricultural uses, they would have protection as long as they're continuing to operate as agricultural farming operations.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Ben, I've got a question there. Had somebody contacted you for this moratorium issue?
I can't hear you, John.
Okay.
She'll pull the microphone down.
Now, I have not researched this at all. That's just somebody came to me and I told them I could not really give them much or any guidance at all, because as county commissioner, I may or may not have to rule on something with a planning issue. So I just told them to see another attorney, but their issue was, they bought a farm, and I've forgotten 20, 30 acres, whatever, raised livestock on it, continue to do that. But when the transfer took place, the tax ID number was not transferred. So they lost the tax ID number. And now they can't do a lot with their, their acreage because they don't have a tax ID number. Is that a tax department issue, a planning department issue? What's the deal with that?
Well, so there are the main issue, and I deal a lot with PUV and the tax department and that kind of stuff. And the main issue that we run into is, in order to qualify for PUV,
Right.
it must be owned by a qualifying individual. An individual is defined as a corporation engaged in the business of farming, or a person, or there's a couple qualifications. And where most people run into trouble with PUV is when they try to get fancy with their ownership, and they wind up shooting themselves in the foot because they're no longer one of these eligible types of entities. So without knowing more of the facts, I can't really speculate, but if they're having any trouble at all with PUV, then you call Craig Stanley in the tax department. He's our PUV appraiser and is a great guy, and will be more than happy to explain whatever the rules are and try to help them solve it.
I think this individual had more of an issue with having some of the upgrades he did on one of his barns not passing, or maybe with the planning department. And I did not. I stopped gathering information.
Yeah,
If I ever have to
I don't.
rule on this, I'm not
Yeah, I don't-
representing that individual or whatever. So I didn't gather all the facts intentionally.
Yeah, that sounds to me like something that is getting a little bit far afield from a pure farm use question. So
I think it is.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, I got a question. This map here in yellow is the present use value, and that's what we're considering as bona fide farms. When we use that terminology, present use, is there a certain dollar amount that's attached to present use? Okay, all right. So what are the other, you had read off 4 incidences in the state statute that talk about other farming activities that may not be including in this present use value. Is that correct?
Well, there is an income threshold. You have to show $10,000 of income from your farming operation. That's one of the criteria for filing Schedule F. You have to have 10 acres of land. And that doesn't, and here's the thing. If you've got 10 acres of land, and this has come up, and say you wanted to build a chicken house, and you did, but you had to cut out the part of your house and lot is in that 10 acres. You don't have, now you've got 8 acres. Say you've got a 2-acre lot. You got 8 acres, and this is a problem for some, because you can put those chicken houses on those 8 acres and make a lot of money, you know, on 2 chicken houses. But you don't have the 10 acres that qualify you for PUB. But here's the thing, you're still a bona fide farm. You got a Schedule F, you probably got a farm tax number, and you probably are meeting the other criteria.
Okay, so they wouldn't qualify for the present.
They wouldn't qualify for PUB.
All right,
And it
so,
would not show up yellow on the
And it wouldn't show up yellow on this map.
so
If
the other farming, qualifications, you read off some other, statutes there for qualifications for actually describing a farm and having it exempt from any zoning.
Well, there's 2 or 3 parts. It talks about the farm tax exemption certificate, a copy of your property tax license showing you're eligible for PUB, or your Schedule F, or a forest management plan. Those are the 4 basic things. And then they've got another part of that defines agriculture, and it gets much deeper and broader into the kinds of operations that you would conduct involving crop raising intended crops, or raising intended livestock, processing, sorting, packing, you know, all these different things that any kind of agricultural operation might entail.
But in the white, we may have, farms, activities that do not qualify under the present use value, that are still farms.
Potentially, that was one of the things I was talking about earlier.
Or we have agricultural land that is not in operation right now. That means they're not asking for present use value if they're not, they're not farming the land, but it's agricultural land, right?
Potentially. And here's the other caveat to this.
I can see a lot of that happening. Is that blue dot down there by, Snow Camp, the big quarry area right down there? That was 300 acres of beautiful farmland that was being, it was vacant farmland. It was vacant farmland. There was no money being produced by the owners of that farmland. All right, so that would potentially be in white right now if it wasn't blue. Now, there was a farmer running cows on it. He wasn't getting the tax, present use value off that land. He was just using the grass, mowing the grass for hay, running his cows on it. It was farmland in my mind.
Well, it could be. Now, there's 2 things to that. The farmer can be leasing that property.
Running his cows on it.
Right. I mean, the farmer can be leasing that land from the landowner. The landowner is the one that gets the PUB, not the farmer. Whoever owns the land gets the PUB.
Whoever owns the land is who the property tax bill.
So then when, that land was sold,
Potentially could be that they were getting PUB, but whoever owned the livestock and whoever mowed the hay was doing those practices that would allow that landowner, if he so chose to, file for PUB. The other thing about the deal is if they don't farm that land, they audit those farms and those farmlands every so many years. That's what Craig Stanley does in the tax department. And if they go to your farm and see that you're not farming, there is no farming activity. Yeah, there's beautiful land out there. They will take it out of PUB. And it takes 3 years to get it put back in.
that doesn't mean it wasn't agricultural land.
But that's what I'm saying. It was agricultural land, but it was idle, fallow, you know, it wasn't being farmed.
Now, going back to, the zoning, I made a comment. Here, that, yeah, I'm for both ways, all right, also. Very supportive of the land development plan, supportive of the small area plan, but I'm very supportive of our agricultural integrity and saving that. I hate the fact that, yeah, when the old farmer dies and the kids don't want to farm anymore and they sell the farm. I would like to, see how people can get back to their roots and figure out a way to be profitable in farming. But we are constantly targeted by developers that see another dollar sign, right? And I've been in that industry too. I've been on both sides. I grew up as a farm kid and all that, so I understand all that. Now, the thing with snow camp, people in snow camp that support this small area plan, they want to smell the chicken shit. They want to smell pig shit. They want to see the cows. They don't want the high-dos coming in like Corey did, or the solar farm and all that. But they certainly don't want housing developments. Group that down there that y'all familiar with. Try to explain the worst thing. While that quarry's going in, that's one thing. Worst thing would be a 300 house subdivision on that piece of property. All right. And one property can't support it. We don't have water and sewer, right? I don't have all any of that stuff down there. It's all septic and wells. All right. Point being is, I think you're misinterpreting the group intent down there. They don't want snow camp to change. Now that's probably not realistic. And I mentioned that in the public comment. That's not realistic because change is going to happen. All right. Zoning is a way to protect the farmers and the other residents that live there. That, yeah, they do want to see the cows. They don't want to see a subdivision come in there. They don't want to see the quarry come in there or Walmart super centery. Now, one of the main concerns that I've spoken about it now for 3 years is the two sites that are going to happen, those super, what do they call them, the mega sites. Guilford County and in Chatham County. Yeah, the Randolph, Guilford, that area there, that's going to impact Southern Alamance County to a great extent. They're going to want to buy that farmland. They're going to want to chase the farmers out because look at the NC Carolina core, the incendiary development spreads all the way and swallows up Snow Camp. So that is one of the main concerns of the people down in the southwest part. It's not about taking the farmers' rights away, telling them what they can and can't do with their land. We want them to stay farmers forever. We want their kids and their grandkids to stay farmers and be profitable and have that way of life. But if we don't somehow protect that area, it's not going to stay that way. And it's already going to be some, and going to be some growth. We need the growth. I have a feeling of like up there between the Snow Camp store and Eric's place. I mean, that could be a corridor for some light stores or whatever, restaurants or whatever. We have that ability in there, but to protect the agriculture, I'm with you 150%.
Well, what happens is like we were discussing earlier when I said you've got a farm economy and you got the other economy. I'm gonna just throw a curve in there. Eric, just off the top of your head, it ain't gotta be right to the penny. 20.842 tractor tire, what's it cost? Mounted. Just throw me a number.
$1,800
Per tire. So when I break 200 horsepower, we're gonna be like $7,400 to put tires on that tractor, right? Shoot the middleman. Man is buying the stuff. Because when you go to Silver City to the stockyard, what's beef selling? What's the cow selling for? They selling by the pound on the hoof. What are they selling for?
Highway calf would bring $1.35.
$1.35 a pound. But you go to Burger King, you're gonna pay almost $10 for a Whopper meal. The farmer's not making the money. The reason that these younger generations are not staying on the farm is because they can go to Walmart, get a job as head cashier, and make more money than their daddy did on the farm. there's your problem. And this is what I can say. $1,800 a tire, you're not walking away with a big fat road. You're not. Okay, in today's world, if you're big time serious, you're gonna break 200 horsepower on the tractor. All right, so in today's world, I mean, there are tractors out there. There's tractors out there that when you go to the store to buy it, you will set down a minimum of $500K. Just to get, you ain't bought the attachments to go with it. So, you know, when I said 20.842, that's what I was accustomed to when I was there. And, you know, at $1,800 a tire, I mean, 1836, it's $7,200. And then we got to, you know, I'm just telling you, the problem with the farms is not the developers are not helping the situation. But the reason that the farmer can't spend $3,500, $4,000 an acre is because, first of all, we got to have those $1,800 tires. We got to have them. Then on the flip side, when we take a load of cows down to Salt Lake City, would you say like $1.35 a pound? Where's the profit? Right
Farmer's
now,
on the man that buys everything at retail and sells it.
at wholesale. Right now, because I just did this just the other day, I went and I bought a load of off-road fuel. Off-road fuel was $2.25 a gallon. Okay, I'm gonna tell you something. Some of the stuff I'm talking about with that size tractor, when you get out there, you're gonna burn 75 to 100 gallons a day. And that's if you don't get in it hard. All right, so now you right back to your cost and your overhead. And this is what I can tell you. The cost of fertilizer, fuel, seed from 1985 to 2021 is what? Quadrupled in price? The price of the product we're selling has not even went up 25 to 50%, if that. So the problem at hand here, yeah, we want to keep the farmers. We want to keep the cows. I like it. But it's back to what I said. You got ag economy, you got other economy. Okay. The farmers cannot reasonably compete with somebody that's coming in with deep pockets, that's willing to pay $4,000 for grandma's farm. So that's why you see cornfields raising McMansions. So protecting the farms is it's critical, it's crucial for me. I'm all for it. I was raised on a farm too. I'd love it, but at some point in time, I'd like to pay the light bill and keep food on the table too. And farmers, I promise you, they're fighting it every day. So, Vaughn, what you said is very good. I like it. You did an awesome job.
So we've got to figure out what we're going to do. That's the thing. You know, we can sit here and kick this can all up and down the road talking about what tires cost and what grain sells for and what cows are. And that's true. All those things are true. But for us, our concern, our direction should be, how do we fix this map? How do we protect this? What are we going to do? I mean, you know, what do the commissioners want to do? What, you know, where do we go from here? You know, do we need to look at this map deeper and broader and figure out, you know, where things should be or where they are? What do you want to do? What's your orders, Mr. Chairman?
I'm asking for suggestions. Ms. Tony, how many tracks of land you said it was within the county? I mean, I'm talking outside city limits of ETJs that would be in our jurisdiction to have basically zoning and or land use.
So, a rough number of what we talked about when we were doing the land development plan was that there were 90,000 tax parcels in the county. In just the Snow Camp small area that we defined, there's 3,000. It gives you a little bit of a reference on how.
Okay, and then that 3,000 in Snow Camp, you're going from an acre to 300 acres. Or acre up.
We don't know, do we know what the percentage of the snow camp area, do we know the percentage of that land that would be defined as agricultural compared to the rest of it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ms. Tanya, and I'm just asking, because you told me that planning department and tax department put this map together, right?
Well, planning and GIS put it together based on tax.
Okay, I got you. Well, I do, and I have seen some, and I'm sure the others have too, parcels that are colored in white that are actively raising crops. or in agricultural.
So that's what we need to know. Where else do you want us to pull that from?
Probably Craig Stanley would be good. Or something.
Well, he would be a good place. You know, I was looking like Morton Township, where I'm from, is 100% voluntary ag district. 100% of that. Now, that doesn't mean every tract of land in there is agricultural use, but everything that's in that township that's not residential is probably more than likely either agricultural land owned or being leased as agricultural land. Because, I mean, because that township is 100% voluntary ag district.
When we was working on Hideout, we did not make changes to it. We had to do like public notice, community notification. Okay. So I understand everybody's concern. With, we're gonna say how they need to. Same time, I guess where the difference would be, this goes down as opposed to last time. Instead of somebody coming in and move the rules and keep going back away, at least there would be, and I think the way we done that was, the commissioners had to have final approval. Is that right? Okay. On Hideout.
Right, commissioners have approval for Hideout. You don't think it was solar ordinance and planning board has final approval.
But now, the reason I'm saying that, we made those changes, the chances, and I understand the small area use plan, I understand the land development plan for Snow Camp area, I understand. And I'm not being coarse towards them or anyone else in the county, I'm not. But if we modified Hideout to have the commissioners have final say, okay, so there would be your public hearing that would have to be had. If there had to be a notification where the property was posted with a billboard and or sign saying this property is being recommended for a medical waste facility, for any Hideout related industry. It
There
does
has to
have
be
to be.
posting, the applicant puts the posting on top.
And the applicant is also compelled by the new Hideout to reach out to all adjacent and or affected property owners with notification of what their plans or intentions are to meet with the county commission when that public hearing comes to play. So in all honesty, and I mean, it's just my opinion, it appears to me that the way Hideout was modified 2 years ago, that it should alleviate any further issues concerning Hideouts coming in under the radar.
That's fine.
Okay, see, this is the whole thing. When the public notification goes up, and the reason when we were doing this, and I thought, we discussed it, posting that property was because, okay, you leave the house, you're going up to the store to get a loaf of bread. You're going on vacation. Either way, you're going to work, whatever. When you ride by and you see that sign, you automatically know. You're not riding by and then you see 2 or 3 track backhoes and off-road trucks coming in and we're putting in culvert pipes and building signs. It's not that. You're going to see that sign posted. This property being considered for Hideout industry use or something along those lines. So there's no surprise. And before they can get the county issue permit, before they go to apply and or receive their state or federal permits, it still has to come in front of the county commission. Now, I do remember that. So I'm not saying that. What I am saying is they did an awesome job on this map. Craig Stanley is a wealth of information. I can go ahead. Craig is a good guy. I know his whole family. They're great people. They really are. But what I'm saying is he has ties to the ag community, just like Eric's got ties to the ag community. Vaughn does. I mean, when you've got people that has that type of knowledge, they can update this map and give us just a little bit more of an idea of what the ag community actually looks like within the county. At that point in time, we can probably make a recommendation to the commissioners, work together, form a subcommittee, do whatever we got to do, get a plan together that will work for everybody in the county. Pass it over to the commissioners. You guys can take a look at it. You're happy, great, it passes. You're not happy, we dig in, we'll roll our sleeves up, we'll put them in harder, and we make it work. That's the point that I'm at.
The whole county. At this point.
Tanya, what do you think?
Now, we're just talking about the map, right?
We're talking about the map now. Mr. Paisley just said, are we discussing just,
John.
My dad passed away 2 years ago.
my dad did too, but he still put me to this day, my trenches. I understand that this was sent back to us because of the small area land development use plan for Snow Camp. That's the biggest reason it was sent back to us. And I think it was because the agriculture industrial portion need to be identified and sent back to the commission.
Many commissioners have not seen this now.
Okay,
I saw it for the first time today.
okay.
Well,
Well,
Turner wanted to know, we wanted the more in-depth knowledge, rather than just seeing a map off the land development plan of what kind of properties, or agriculture, kind of properties are not in the southern part of the county, in particular the southwest part, is what we were discussing at that point, part of that land. So he wanted to see what, if an agricultural overlay, and how many parcels would affect. That was my understanding.
well, then, yeah, you're right. You're right about that. So what I would recommend, we still need a motion for that. I'm assuming this map's been prepared by the planning department for GIS. It's give us an idea of exactly what we asked for. So,
Why do you go back and revise this map?
That's what I'm here for tonight. I need to know where or what additional information y'all want, because we can touch up this map in any way reasonably possible. But it means trying to figure out exactly which parcels y'all are talking about that need this definition. So we kind of go back to the core of what are we defining as agriculture? Currently being used for agriculture or land that could be used as agriculture? So I guess that's kind of where I'm at too. How do you want me to define that? Because that kind of depends on what kind of data we pull.
You didn't have an additional color. Yellow is right now. It's yellow there. But other agricultural forces we do use that you don't have color. Sure.
that's where Craig Stanley was talking. That's where Mr. Stanley was talking. And I understand, he's probably at the house right now watching TV, getting ready to, eat some ice cream or something. And I'm pretty much, and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, but Craig does have a wealth of information. And he has the computer software and everything else. He can look at this map right here, and he could, come up with a different color, whether it be a pink or a orange or something, and identify lands that are currently being used for agricultural purposes, but does not meet the criteria for the PUD.
Well, it's not maybe on the hill.
Well,
How about green?
I'm kind of liking red because okay.
So Andrew Cheek
You got
actually,
red already on there.
Andrew Cheek actually said that she supported what Ray was saying about where we're at and just filling in some more pieces. And Jean is putting in there, make it green because it can grow something.
Yeah.
So I would expect, what I expected out of this and what I think I'll let commissioners know, they gave us marching orders. We spent the last few weeks getting this together for tonight's meeting. So from tonight's meeting, it sounds like I need to talk to Craig Stanley as kind of my source next. You pull that together for April's planning board meeting to hopefully wrap up the map, and then we can take it to commissioners for their second meeting in April for their viewing, as long as planning board sees all they need to see in the April meeting.
I'd love to see that change in the map.
Does that sound fair to you, sir?
Took all this issue of the,
Okay.
so it's not the,
Okay.
and I think you guys will have the numbers together, so forth. And that's being negotiated before the one is set.
We're working through the legal part, legal them, legal us, and then we can get it finalized.
So it's not on the agenda for April 5.
Okay.
You got your next April 15th.
April 15th should be the commissioners meeting, the second.
2 Mondays later.
April 5th is the first one, so 2 weeks after that. So Andrea wanted me to clarify that she was supporting making a subcommittee to talk the nitty gritty to the commissioners. That's the part that she was supporting.
So I was in favor of that.
Yes.
All right, so I guess at this point, where we're at, we need a motion of some sort.
Are you gonna do it for the whole county or just Snow Canyon?
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, and the other part of it, exactly what do the commissioners want out of this map from us? I mean, that's the part I'm really not. I know that when we made a recommendation about the Snow Camp Small Area Plan and Part C, which was the agricultural overlay. My understanding is they somewhat rejected the agricultural overlay and sent back to us because they didn't understand what agricultural overlay was.
Let me
It
say
helped
that
me figure that out.
If you're dealing with, December 7th is when 4 county commissioners were scoring, actually. January. You have 4 out of 5. I was on the board in 2014, but I was not there in November. So those requests came from individuals that aren't there. So I'm not sure that the other, the state bar knows is who's on the board and some of those decisions the past 2 years. I had 0 input or. And also, information, hopefully just.
Learning. Eric?
So I'm not sure that anybody really knows fully what this new board needs. Like I said, I grew up informally, or I have a lot of idea. I heard some of the other members. I don't think Steve really for, I would guarantee, I don't think it is. There's a banking and whatever. I don't think any of the others, anything about it, really said. I was going to have to pitch the county commission. I think I would like to know how much of this additional land, for example, coming down, 29, right there in Belmont, you got what do you call the area where you carry stumps in the whole?
LCID land.
Right. Yeah, I know there's one right there in Belmont, but I don't see on the map. For example, so I know that map is not complete in a number of areas, including Farm Reeds. I sure what they have on one complete map.
Well, to answer your question, because you were talking about countywide, the whole county, or just the southwest part of county. Okay, and kudos for this map because it really worked out well. It was sent back to us due to the small area use plan for Snow Camp, so it was sent back to us. All right, Tanya and GIS has put this map together concerning the whole county. We can prepare this map for the whole county, Craig Stanley's assistance, of course, as well as identifying some of the LCIDs that you're talking about. I know there's one, hold on a minute. All right, there's one right here on Collins Road that I know to, and I'm trying to find the bearings over here, but I'm not quite seeing it on this map.
Are you talking about the Philippines?
I'm talking about Phillips.
So they should be, I think they're the blue guys, but they just came in to kind of get their grandfathering status updated. So they may actually miss the cutoff one.
And that's fine, but I guess to answer Mr. McPherson's question is, if we prepare the map as a whole, and then we send this map back to the commissioners, then, you know, like I said, it was originally sent back to us due to the Snow Camp Small Area Use Plan. But we send them back a complete map of the whole county. One, we did our job, and two, the commissioners will have a much better understanding. That's just my opinion. So, in all honesty, I feel like that, you know, if Craig and his department could take that map right there, they'll fill it in. If we get Philip in where he belongs, and he's there, and I'm gonna just tell you something. Kenneth is running an awesome place down there. It really is. Yeah, he's doing a great job. So, if this whole map was updated by Craig, over ag, you know, extension office, if he worked on it some, and we presented this whole map, just like it is now, after Craig got done adding what needed to be added. This passed over to the commissioners, they're gonna have a good full understanding what the entire county as a whole looks like, as well as the southwest part of this county. It's gonna change too, it won't stay the same. It'll change too. So I think that's the position that I'm saying.
I don't have that, what's your question, do you have?
I think we can manage to get this done. I think we can get an update for the April planning board meeting. That gives me about 30 days to get with Craig and then kind of overlay the stuff and make sure it matches up. So what Craig had said in the meeting was he feels like we have a lot of information, but they've got to figure out where their concern is, where the problem is that they're trying to solve, right? With zoning, or where's the true concern in general. Because if we got a problem to solve, we just find a means to solve it. And we kind of have to figure that part out. So he was wanting to get an idea of where industry and agriculture fight each other in the county, where they don't get along and they're on top of each other. So this seems to be the best way, at least from what he was seeing, that if we produced a map to show that, then you could see some of the concerns and where those concerns might be physically in our county, visually too.
Okay. The subcommittee and the commissioners, excuse me, the subcommittee and planning board worked on revised IDO the summer of 19. When did the commissioners approve the IDO ordinance that planning board had put together? When did they approve it?
IDO was approved a couple times, so.
It was 2011 the first time.
2011, Ben could probably help me here too. 2011, 2016, and then we had the latest version was early 2020.
Early
That's
2020.
when we took solar out. That's the
Okay.
only thing we did.
So IDO was revised, we're gonna say within the last, we're gonna say we're looking at a 12-month-old IDO ordinance is sitting on the books right now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, yes, we're,
All right, and I'm asking nicely, has there been any applications for any type of IDO industry since?
officially, we have Mr. Philippi who has asked for an expansion of his current use, so he'll have to come under that new.
Okay,
We've
but
had a couple solar farms apply, but they're technically out of HIDO now.
for IDO, they've got their own standalone ordinance. Basically, what we got Philippi, you remember we rode Philippi?
Yeah.
We rode down there. So basically, Philippi is looking for an extension of his current use. And, you know, what he's doing down there, he's doing a fine job, but at the same time, he does run out of area, just like,
So,
no, he's an LCID landfill. All right, so, granted, and best I can tell, every time I've been down to Philippi, he's doing a great job. You know, he's got a well-run place down there. And as a matter of fact, if you'll remember when we rode down there, there was 3,500 square foot houses built right there within eye shot range of his driveway. And I mean, we're talking about houses that if they were on the real estate market, they wouldn't sit there alone. They're that close to what he's doing. But if we've got HIDO that was our most recent version of HIDO was accepted by the commissioners, we'll say early 2020, so that ordinance right now is, we'll say 12 months old or thereabout. We've not actually had any applications for anything concerning that HIDO other than an expansion permit from Mr. Philippi over there. Then best I can say is HIDO's doing this job right now.
I think it's actually, now we find Steve were out there, there's a tract of land, how many acres is that? You have a tract of land selling for $750,000. How many acres is that?
That was 20 acres in that home, which was a very nice large home. And it originally, they originally put it on the market for like $1 million, but they didn't get that. So they got like 700,000.
But actually, the contract is for.
About $700,000. About $700,000. give or take. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, yeah, figured even with the old MICA, one that didn't give notification, had less restriction, there's still taking out the solar farms, there weren't a whole lot of applications being made with Idaho authority. Okay, now, new Idaho is much better. Notification, land spacing, and that's basically what it is, land spacing and setback, right? That's our ordinance. That's our ordinance on that. And I know the moratorium, that went, through and is concerning, the Idaho in the southwest part of the county. But like I said, one of my concerns is still, not really the protections against agriculture and the potential for subdivision. You know, we haven't really talked about subdivision ordinance in a long time. You say it's pretty restrictive. I think that if we wanted to maybe look at that subdivision ordinance, that could give us some protection down on the outlying areas, and not just the southwest county part, southeast, northeast, you know, all these areas where, you know, maybe the lot size, you know, changes in accordance to certain areas. You know, it gets smaller as it gets up towards Burlington and Graham and all those kind of areas. But as they expand out from the cities, the lot sizes get larger. 2 acres, 5 acres. You know, coming from Florida, we had East Pasco County. We had the same issue where we had a lot of agricultural land, cattle and citrus down there, and farmers were you know, quitting farming, whether it was by death or by choice. And the county made a decision that was called, you had to have 1 in 10 acres. Do it split once, and you go even for 1 in 5 acres. But you had the tracts of land couldn't be developed for less than 1 house per 10 acres. Eastern part of the county, all agriculture, the same thing, except wells, and that's maybe that's an area that we need to look at moving forward. Right.
Pretty much, I mean, we do have some pretty, I'm gonna say, strong, subdivision ordinances. As we know, we have some strong ordinances there. All right, but pretty much, and this is just me, pretty much with the changes that's been made, modification of Idaho, looking at this map right here gives me a better understanding now. I have a better understanding of the county. Just looking at this, and it's not even done yet. I'm gonna say this. Well, I say it's not done, the modification can be done. When it gets to the point that we basically restrict something to the point that it cannot positively be done here in this county, and basically what you done is you just took it, cut the head off that goose and made it go to it. Just put an end to it. Everything works together. Everything. We got a big wheel. It's a balancing act. What we have to do. We have to make things reasonable for business owner. He's got to make money to stay in business. All right. And you said something earlier, and I know this from a natural fact. A lot of the farmers did pass away, and they did stop, and their children and grandchildren did sell the farm. But I also remember a time that the farmers was buying the land. They was buying the equipment. They was working 22 hours a day. And they didn't quit because they wanted to. And they didn't quit because a developer come in and said, I'll pay you twice for it because I want to build beside your cow barn. The bank shut them down. They couldn't make their payments because the farmer is not on, the people in the ag community, they're not just dealing with developers. They're not just dealing with Idaho ordinances. They're dealing with elements. Because if you got a dry year, that 200, 250 bushel to the acre corn just got cut to 75. And I promise you, 75, you did not even as much as cover your seed deal. So there's more to it than that. So, you know, there are farms that are going to be developed. It's going to happen. There's nothing we can do. You know, but you have to have growth. When you stop growth, I mean, you're satisfied where you at, and I mean, that's just it. You're done. I mean, money, as far as the economy, you have to keep money moving. But it's right back to what I said, it's a balancing act. We have to come up with something. The commissioners has to have something that is gonna balance everything out. And it's not something that we are gonna be able to do in 1 or 2 meetings and pass off to the commissioners and it be a legitimate repair to what's going on. I understand. But what I'm saying is realistically,
Agribusiness and agriculture is alive and well in Alamance County because there is a large percentage of this county in this map. And it's not totally inclusive on this map that is already under agricultural use. So what I'm telling you is the corridor of the interstate, 3 miles north and south of it, that's fairly well, that's pretty much all the ETJs. And there are places within that that are not in ETJs, but you know, most of your development, industrial development is going to go there because that's where the transportation is. And the availability of water and sewer. But outside of that, you don't have to go very far north or south to get very rural very quickly. And I think the citizens of this county, they've requested in their mind what they'd like to see is to preserve that. We've got that corridor that's going to be developed. There's no stopping that. You're not going to change that. But you'd hate to see a bunch of things dropped in the middle of these communities all over the place without the citizens having any say of it at all. And so, we need to identify what these places look like. But you can see right this map clearly, there's a lot of agricultural enterprise going on in this county. There is tons of land that just joins up to parcel to parcel to parcel to parcel. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of land that we're talking about here that we need to make sure any tool we can give them to keep them
active
in business, we need to do that.
Yeah, I don't think we're trying to squash growth on Park County. You just control that. That's what it's saying. Just kind of control it, what the word's supposed to be, and then you have a farmer that kids himself, he's just done with farming, wants to move on. That's what the zoning changes are all about. You can go through the channels of that. Sounds like I'm promoting zoning, but it's an element of protection for not just including the farmers from being run out. They're exempt and all that lawsuit stuff about smelling. Another thing is too, when we mark up the map, I know across from the quarry property, there's the sport of horses. Now it probably doesn't qualify maybe as a present use value, but they do quite a business. To me, that's an agribusiness. Is that what we would identify too? Areas like the sport of horses, it's a horse training center.
Under the definition as the statute reads.
So we want to identify that, right? Those type of.
Well, in all honesty, at this point, we've taken the time, us as well as the planning board members have been on Zoom. They've had an opportunity to look at this map and, at this point, probably the best move that we could make would be like we discussed earlier, would be for Craig to take a look at this and for him to throw some input in. For us to get some other things in here like Philippi's over there, just make sure it's there. And at that point in time, we'll review it again. If everything is kosher, and we can send this stuff back to the commissioners for them to look at for their approval. All right?
What
Because,
does that mean? For approval, what happens then?
well, the whole idea was, the understanding I have, Mr. Turner wanted us to identify ag and industrial properties in the county. That's what this map's doing. And it all comes back down to that small area use plan for Snow Camp. If this is what this is all about, it's gonna go back to that concerning that part right there. Now, I know Mr. McPherson said a while ago, we just gonna cover the Snow Camp area. Well, we can, however, if we send the commissioners back a map that's showing everything from Morton Township slap to Snow Camp, this is what the county looks like. It's gonna give them a better understanding as to what we need to do. I
At
mean,
that point, they can make a decision where they go from here about what we can do.
Right. At this point, they can look at it and say, okay, we're going to proceed forward with the small camp, Snow Camp Small Area Use Plan with the possibility of a county-wide issue.
So you're proposing looking at the entire county portion?
For the map.
versus Snow Camp area?
No, for the map, because this was sent back to us because Mr. Turner wanted the ag.
Yeah. But
Okay,
you're saying do it for the entire map, not just for Snow Camp?
right, we're gonna
So-
redo the entire map. And then we're gonna send the entire map back to the commissioners. That way, when you look at it, you realize that you're gonna be handling just the Snow Camp Small Area Land Use Plan, but at the same time, you can view the entire county as to what it looks like. So, it's just my opinion. I feel like it would work. In my opinion, I feel like it would work better for the commissioners. That's just my thought.
So part of what Craig said in his motion actually excluded the Snow Camp Small Area Plan. However, I felt like, one, if we were doing it for the whole county, we might as well include Snow Camp. And if we did it outside of there and presented the map, there might be questions of, well, what is going on in the Snow Camp place? So because we're already putting the work in, I went ahead and added the Snow Camp area in there. What we can do really for next month's map is throw in where that Snow Camp Small Area area is, the line. It's on,
Basically the Snow Camp Fire District.
well, it goes all the way west.
It's a township, which township?
It's Patterson and Newton, yeah. But Mr. Philippi is on this map. I just looked in the little Excel. He's the blue up in the,
It's the blue dot about 3/4 that are.
yeah, right there almost at the Gifford
I
County
see
line.
him right there. I see
So
him.
he didn't get excluded. We did get to pull him. But so that's kind of, Mr. Turner had asked for us to exclude it, but just because, and the small area plan, small areas that were planned out is on the webpage. So you can see how all that laid out. We did put that layer on, but we'll add just the Snow Camp area to this map for next month. So you can see where that line is on this map.
Okay, one other thing that I need to know where this stands. We made a recommendation from this board to the commissioners to, about the Snow Camp Small Area Plan, but we also talked to them, asked them to consider agricultural overlay. And I want to know, where is that? Has that been basically done away with, voted down? Would we suggest with this new map that we eventually will send to them, can we recommend that back again? Remember, we had A, B, and C.
That was in discussion, if you remember, Mr. Paisley, where we talked about this map. A lot of discussion was given about agricultural overlay and then what other overlays, what overlay means and what other things could fall into that. So that was a big part of that discussion, not the last meeting, but the meeting before that.
Right, right.
And that, I think this is coming first because we need to see where agriculture is before we can define an agricultural overlay. I think this is a tool towards
I would
that.
make a motion that we suggest that the staff go back with the assistance of anyone at Extension or Craig Stanley in the tax office, Brad Moore that deals with soil and water, any of those resources, to reach out to those people and identify any parcels on this county-wide map, not just Snow Camp, but the entire county, identify anything that's agricultural use that's not on this map, open space, anything, in other words, undeveloped land. I mean, because just acreage that doesn't have homes, it's just, for example, that 300-acre farm that's not farming right now. We need to know where all those parcels are at. All these.
Minimum acres you're wanting to put on that undeveloped?
Well, I don't think we need to get down to 15,000 square foot lots, but I think we need to know, I'd say at least, I would say 10 acres. Because 10 acres is the threshold. 10 acres is the threshold for an agricultural use.
Okay, I'm sorry, I had my-
So I think, my motion is that for them to reach out, and I don't expect y'all to do it by yourself. There's a lot of people here that can help with this. Voluntary Ag District with the soil and water, they've resourced that. They've got that stuff identified. The Craig Stanley certainly got information that he could probably add to it. County Extension may even have some names of people that are not necessarily, that are landowners that aren't under PUD or whatever. So my motion is for you, let's expand this map in 10-acre lots, 10-acre parcels or more, or larger, that are either under present use value or not, as long as they're 10-acre parcels. And then if they're residential, we need to know. I mean, if somebody could be living on a 10-acre parcel and it's their lot and their home. So there's gonna be a lot of colors on this map when you start thinking about that. We need to have this is my home and I live on, a 2-acre lot, or I live on a 10-acre lot. I'm not farming, but I've just got 10 acres because I don't want anybody right up against me. So we need to know which ones are open land, which ones are not. This is a long motion, isn't it? Well, that's gonna be under PUV. I mean, he's not gonna qualify as PUV, but he may have a Schedule F. Craig's gonna know that.
Well, yeah, that's why
Craig will know it, or soil and water.
Horses or.
Yeah, any of those things, you understand.
Thank you.
Don't
You said it right. I'm gonna start color coding based on where I got the information from.
Well,
And then that way, when the map shows up, it won't be a question. We have present use value. We know that came from tax. Idaho has a color, but then is it soil and water? Is it ag extension? Where it came from, so we understand where the
we
definition
just need
is.
to know that they're 10-acre plot tracts that are open land of 10 acres or more that is just open space.
So that's gonna be more of a tax thing, so we can put that in.
Right.
Differently.
They can be green colors.
But we're gonna have a rainbow. We will.
All
That's
right,
fine. I mean, just so we understand what they are.
Yes, you'll have a.
all right, Ms. Tanya, we got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Hold on, let me see if anybody second on mine. Is there anybody on Zoom that wanted to do a second or want to be part of the motion?
This is Andrea Cheek. I will second Vaughn's motion. I think it is a good idea to get specific about what we're talking about.
So you're seconding it, Andrea?
Yes, ma'am. That was a yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was a yes.
All right, so we have a motion to second. Everybody in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Ms. Tony. That brings us to old business. Board of Commissioners, new planning board member approvals.
So just to give y'all an update, those member approvals that you all recommended, what, I don't know, a month or so ago. It was Rodney Cheek and Blake Cobb, yes. They are sitting, waiting to get on the agenda for commissioners. If I'm right, John, we're looking at doing that next meeting?
I think it would be the Monday meeting. I hope that we 15 or 16, whatever that meeting.
Of March 15th. Okay, the middle March meeting.
Yes.
Yes. No. That's not on Monday's agenda, right? Y'all just fixed that.
It's whatever, 2 weeks.
April 5th meeting.
Fifth is the meeting next week. I don't know yet. Yeah, whatever, 14 days.
All right, so this Monday is the March 15th, and then we have April 5th.
I think it's on the March, mid-March.
So that would be Monday's meeting,
Oh, that's not, I'm sorry.
because y'all just did that. So it looks like April 5th will be the meeting that we'll put that, or they'll get that on the agenda. So hopefully before the next planning board meeting to finish discussing this map.
I've got the agenda for the Monday's meeting right here.
I think it's the next Monday after.
That'd be a month.
This is Monday after Easter.
All right. All right, is that got everything covered? Any other announcements, discussions? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to just address that issue. I know there's a lot of discussion by the county commissioners as to whether. I'm not sure I want to bring this up. I'll talk about this on the father, son, husband, wife, and so forth. And I think in the, you guys said, because I was on Zoom with that meeting, tweeting that two or three members that wanted to apply for in positions, Sandy Grace, for example, and another one or two that were public officials that wanted to be discussion is started when your planning board meeting was, there were public officials, they could not be on this board. In fact, that's not because of statutes and so forth. It's a public official position, not a county commission, but they could be school board member, for example, soil and water and so forth, and could still be on. So I think there's a lot of confusion. When you guys make your recommendations to who those members are. Secondly, I think the issue was, some of the had there been any additional applications?
I believe we had one application after we started this process. Just
Because of the, family members gathering up a little bit. I talked about that, I understand.
We did, and I mean, honestly, the whole thing is, I do remember I spoke to somebody, Mr. Commissioner, I'm gonna let it lay it there right there. And I was told, that the churches don't allow family members to serve on the board together. My response to that was, I fully understand church boards, business boards, things of that nature, they're dealing with finances and everything else. All we're dealing with is land use issues, ordinances, things of that nature. All right.
And I did that board member was,
and we won't, I'm gonna let it lay at that, but, one of the issues that we had as a planning board, and the biggest reason that we went the way we did is because I fully understand the state statutes may say that an elected official can serve on the planning board. The way we felt about it was, okay, the state statute may say that. But currently, right now, the way this planning board sets is there is no special interest. There is no elected official here that can influence or sway our recommendations to you guys based on a elected position they may have. That's why we did what we did. All right. I mean, that's why we done it. And I mean, in all honesty, my opinion is we did have several applicants. At the same time, out of those applicants, there were several of them who withdrew their application. Is that correct, Ms. Tanya?
yes, sir.
Okay. When they withdrew their application, then they were no longer needed there was no need for us to consider them. There were some applicants we had on there, and understand, I'm not saying this is, if you're not born here, if your granddaddy's farm ain't here, you don't need to be on the planning board. I'm not saying that. But we also had some applicants who had applied to be on the planning board and he lived in this county for just a matter of just a couple, 2 or 3 years. All right, so the opinion that we had at that time, and I'm not just talking about me, I'm talking about everybody on the planning board, because we discussed it. Zoom meeting, you was in attendance, you seen it. Our biggest issue was is when we make a recommendation for the commissioners that we're going to send to the commissioners, we want it to come from the heart of the county, not somebody that is elected as a city council member in Burlington or Elon or Graham. We want it to come from the men and women who live in this county, who travel around every day. We wanted an unbiased approach. That's what we were after. So.
My question would be,
in all due respect,
And the county commissioners don't have to really, unfortunately, she recommended, that's another issue.
okay? Well, and once again, I don't mean this in a coarse way, but since 1996, that's when I myself came on this planning. The planning board has worked together in conjunction with the county commissioners. Generally, best I can tell from then to current day now, if we made a recommendation to the commissioners never did, when I say they didn't second guess us, in other words, we were not directing the commissioners, but at least they valued our opinion. And once upon a time, and this is a fact, and if there was someone else here in attendance, he would agree with me totally because he served that time too. Once upon a time, the Alamance County Planning Board had teeth. And I'm gonna say in the last 2, maybe 3 years, I'm gonna lay it out right there. It was kind of sort of like we had our teeth pulled. So all I can say is we made our recommendation to the commissioners of who we felt like would be good for the Alamance County Planning Board, as well as who would be an asset for the county. We've got one seasoned veteran and we got one youngster. Granted, I understand the family ties. But we've got one seasoned veteran and we got another young man that's in his early 30s who's out in this county every day. That we felt like would give the planning board as well as the county as a whole, it would be a benefit for everybody. So
I'll tell you, the commissioners ought to be listening to the planning board. You have a lot more information about and so forth. Yeah. My sole question was, who in the application process? And that answer may be no. But at the same time, wages, I would, Ray's been on this board forever. Not really. Maybe, you make presentations and so forth. It's not going to follow the consent anyway. It has so many applications.
Right, we never do that, we have all those applications.
Ray also speaking that. We're listening, we're going to listen to Tommy anyway, but maybe a little more,
He can probably give a better explanation of where the board was coming from, and he's got the details of discussion, which I can offer, but I think it comes better from the chair.
well, I will be more than glad to be there. I will be there. Daytime, nighttime, don't make no difference. Just let me know. That's fine. But my whole thing is, and I feel like I'm saying this for everybody that's serving on this planning board currently, as well as some members who may have termed out just this past December. Every last one of us, we serve this planning board and we serve this county with passion. It means something to us. Okay. All of us. I mean, you got Bill Poe over here, the man works in construction. He'll leave a job and he will race to get to either his computer for a Zoom meeting or he'll race to come to the county to be, I mean, I'm not saying break traffic. I'm not saying that. He's on a mission to get here.
I'll give you one more.
And I mean, my whole thing is, and I pointed him out, but everybody that served on this planning board, they do it from the heart. Okay. And, you know, I can appreciate everyone's opinion and I appreciate the concern of family. But I'm going to tell you this. We're not dipping in the county's checkbook. I'll be frankly honest with you. You can hand it to me and I'll walk away from it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want it. But when we have the compassion and heart and family values we have for this county, in all honesty, it does not need to be overlooked. That's just my opinion. You know, there have been several applications, there have, but for one reason or another, there was things there that made us feel uncomfortable. And we done what we felt was best for the county. And that's it. I mean,
James, I was uncomfortable with all. But
thank you. We did, all of us, including the Zoom, people that's on Zoom tonight. We did. We discussed it in depth. It was nothing rubber stamped. Everything followed protocol. And we picked the two that we felt like was best. Now, I will say this, Rodney Cheek, I've been knowing that man for years. Okay? If you want to talk down to family, me and him's brothers, different mama, different daddy, but the man is extremely intelligent. It would be a travesty for the county to overlook him and pass him over for someone else. Blake Cobb, he is my son. I will accept that. I will tell it to the county commissioners. I'll tell it to the judge. Don't make no difference. He's my son and I will not disown that. You're good. You're good. But when the time comes, we did as a collective body made a recommendation, to the commissioners based on what we felt like was best for us as a planning board and the county as a whole. That's what we did. So
I thought we pushed back on for that April meeting. It could be on this March meeting. And is that the case? It only takes three votes.
I understand. I understand. Well, I understand it only takes three. I understand it. And I'm not banking on a 5-0 or nothing like that, because I know that day, you know, it ain't about a title, nothing like that.
Yeah.
But at some point, you know, we've not done nothing wrong. We haven't. We're doing what we feel like's best. You know, that's all I got to say about that. So that being said, is everybody good?
We discussed, the appointments. We took the fact that, somebody like Rodney, number one, he's dedicated to this county, has been for a long time. And you have to, he's on the chair of the Historical Properties Commission, and that whole, knowledge and of what he can, helps with us. I mean, I would think that we would be doing a great dissatisfaction to the county with not having Rodney Cheek back on. Ray's son, we took it from the fact that his knowledge of being out there in the field and construction, the hands-on, and a younger take. Most of us are a little, long in the tooth. A younger take on that perspective was another factor that kind of swayed me over another candidate. A lot of the other candidates had things that they could offer also, and we spoke about that. But I think the two that we recommended were best suited we could at the time.
Let me clear up the ones that I'm trying to be funny about, right? I was totally
We're good.
I was not thinking about people on Zoom.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. We're good, Mr. Baker. Everything's fine. So, Lee, what do you think?
Have you present your case and let commissioners vote as they, based on information provided?
Awesome. Mr. Willoughby?
We did our due diligence. I think we selected the people we felt were the most qualified to represent this county. And I think we should just, as Lee said, you need to be there, get your case, present the board's case, really. All I got to say.
First, made a decision.
Fair enough. Ms. Tanya, has anybody on Zoom got anything to say concerning any of this?
So far. No, Andrews can't hear John.
Andrews, what now?
You can't hear John, because you had several things to say, but you saw him actually being got that.
Okay. All right, well, I guess.
Really conversation.
All right, well, I guess with all that being said, we have another motion for tonight. I got a motion second. Everybody have an awesome evening.
Make sure that you contact our agenda.